Today I'm going to talk about something that is really not related to bicycles and what I like to do. It is in a roundabout way, but it's quite a reach. It's a candle lantern, and I'm sure you're familiar with them. There's a lot of them out there, and they're really good in their place. They're good emergency light, and a lot of people camp with them. I used to carry them. I've been backpacking almost 25 years. I've carried them almost from the beginning, except for up until recently, and I'll get into that. But, well, let me back up a little bit. They got us out of a bind. My brothers and I went to Africa and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2001. And we got to the top hut before the summit the night before, and we were cold. Our clothes were wet. There's no way to dry them up there. It was below freezing because there was snow on the ground. And so I had an epiphany. I seem to have a lot of those. Some people might call it a brainstorm, but I had that candle lantern at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. So I said, why don't we stack our clothes around this rack and put the candle lantern in the middle on the bottom, and stack our clothes around it. And then I took a jacket or a windbreaker or something to hold the heat in, sort of a tent over it, and let it burn all night. And it dried everything. It was amazing. So I started to see the usefulness of it then, besides just being a light, an emergency light. So if we fast forward a few years, I would carry it with me camping, I would keep it burning all night in the tent. It just a soft, gentle light, didn't keep me awake, and I liked it. So a few years later, my wife starts backpacking, and she, has all the latest lightweight gear and all. So she would gently make fun of my candle lantern, that it was outdated and useless weight and all that, because I tended to carry too much weight anyway. So I stopped carrying it for a few years. And so this week, earlier in the week, I went on an overnight little camp out, just short hike, and camped in the woods near here. And it wasn't cold, but it was 35 degrees, I think it got down to, but I was just uncomfortable. Yeah, I wasn't cold, I was just cool. I was colder than I wanted to be. And I got to thinking about that candle lantern. If I would have had that in the tent, or maybe even a couple of them, would that have made the difference to give me a nice, comfortable night's sleep? Because when things are right, I'll sleep like a baby in the tent or the hammock. And I was in the tent this time. So I got to thinking, I'm going to set up my tent maybe in the backyard and try to simulate a real world experience. I got some good thermometers and all that, and I'll get in there for part of it. And I even have a small circulating fan and that may be overkill. It may move too much air. But if that warm air is going to collect at the top of the tent and try to go out through the screen, and I really don't want to block the screen. But if I had a little small fan that didn't blow on you, but that might destratify that air to make more warm air come to the bottom of the tent, that might be something worth looking at. So that's what the video is going to be today. Sorry for the long intro, but I had to set it all up. And I'll get back with you when I'm all ready to roll with the experiment. Okay, I'm ready to try it. I'm going to see if a candle lantern will warm a tent up enough to make a difference on a cold night, say 25 to 35 range, something like that. See if it'll turn into being uncomfortable to being a sleep through the night kind of night. The sun's going down, and I'm gonna set up, and as soon as the inside and the outside of the tent are the same temperature, I'm gonna carry on with the experiment. Now, mind you, this is not a terribly scientific experiment, because I wouldn't even know how to do that anyway. But this is more like real world. I don't plan on staying in the tent, because I think that would skew the results. With my body giving off heat, we wouldn't know whether the temperature went up because of the candles or the body or both, and wouldn't know how much each contributed. So it's just going to be the candles. I'm going to have one and then two, and I'll carefully measure it. I've got a good thermometer, and so let's get started. Okay, I've got everything set up, and it's been maybe only about 15 minutes, maybe a little longer. I've got two candles going inside. They're both paraffin candles, but the temperature, the difference has risen about 2 degrees in that amount of time. So I'm going to let it go a little longer and see what happens. No fans going. I don't believe I'll run the fan. I believe that may be overkill. But so far, 2 degrees in this shorter time, I'm happy with it. So I'll get back with you in a few minutes, and we'll check on it again. All right. I had to put a warmer hat on because of this old bald head. But it's not very cold. It's 40 or above out here. But I just checked on the situation in there. Just a little bit less than an hour is what we've got, and it's right at 5 degrees warmer inside than out. So I'm going to let it go a little longer, finish the hour out, and then I'm going to put out the smaller of the two candle lanterns. It's a little tea light lantern. I'm going to put it out and see what difference that makes. And then before I finish testing for the night, I think I'm gonna run that fan a little bit. Try to get it so it's blowing up and over and not on somebody. Try to get it pointed like that. I'm sure that fan's a little bit too big for what I'm trying to do, but it'll give me an idea whether I'm on the right track or not. So I'll get back to you in a few minutes. It's been an hour now, and the temperature is stabilizing around a little more than 4 degrees, 4.5 at the most. And I was hoping for a little more than that, but you know, a person could live with that. If the candle lantern adds 4 and your body heat will add 4, that's 8 degrees. 35-degree night, and you got a 40, nearly 45-degree tent. That's bearable. So I'm gonna keep on, like I said. I'm gonna put 1 candle out and then see what that does, and then I'm gonna run that fan to destratify the air, get the warm air off the ceiling. And by the way, this sensor inside the tent is about 6 inches off the ground in the free air. It's not touching anything, and about 6 inches off the floor of the tent. So I'll get back with you. Okay, I put the tea light candle out, and then I started the fan on low. I just went ahead and did it, and that didn't work at all. The temperature in there dropped. It must have been pulling air in from the outside the way I was doing it. When I turned the fan off, it rose again, and it'll vary between 4 and 4.5 degrees above the outside temperature. And I was hoping for a little more, but I think I can live with that. I think it's worth taking it for that, plus the emergency heat, or emergency light it gives, you know. So I'm gonna shut her down for tonight, and I'll get back with you when I get in the warm house. I'm back in the house where it's nice and warm. I didn't show you my candle lanterns. This is the newer one I have. It has a beeswax candle in there right now, and I prefer the beeswax. If they have the right size wick in there, they burn great, and they smell better too. Here's one I've had a long time. I don't think it's the original, but I've had this for years. It's the same thing as the other one right there, but it's just got an REI sticker on it. I used it on tonight's test as the main one, and it's got a paraffin candle for tonight's test. And here is the little tea light candle lantern. It's lighter and simpler. Just doesn't put out the light or the heat as much as the others. And here is the fan. This was a lifesaver in Iowa last summer, but it puts out too much air for what I was trying to do. If you had one that put out half the air, or maybe even less, you might accomplish what I was trying to do. I think for me, on a bike trip, in the cool or sort of cold nights, it's worth it. It may not be worth it to a backpacker where every ounce counts, but on a bicycle it's not quite as critical, and it's going to weigh about an extra pound, your candle lantern and a couple of candles. So I'm going to carry it when I go. I hope this video was informative, and Thanks for watching.